Hello, worldies, and welcome back to my naughty little channel. So, I had an epiphany, and I want to was it Kenzie from Love Island, for helping me really put a huge piece of the puzzle together. And this will be relevant to all exoticals everywhere. So I hope you are tuned in and you are listening up, because I'm going to point out how in that Call Her Daddy interview, Kenzie said the quiet part out loud. So, for many of you, you may have just finished up watching Love Island and everything, or if you're like me, you may have seen it mainly from clips, commentaries, interviews, whatever. And for me to give this perspective, I actually didn't need to watch the whole series, because what I understood from the interview, the Call Her Daddy interview, was Kenzie was basically saying people felt, her and some other cast members felt like Melanie was given too much camera time. And for upon first listen, that might just sound like, well, yeah, you guys all went there too, so you deserve your equal time. But I'm going to point out a few things before I get to the real quiet part that she said out loud. That even I was just recording a Patreon episode down in the the link to my Patreon is always in my channel description. It's always in the video description as well. So go check that out and join if you want to get into the behind the scenes tea, where I talk in depth about real things that happen in my life and whatnot. Stuff that is maybe not YouTube appropriate sometimes. But I had this epiphany and I was like, oh, I got to record that. So one, as far as people getting not the same amount of screen time as Melanie, first of all, I don't believe that the contracts they signed said anything about you were getting equal camera time. I doubt that was in their contract, so it doesn't sound like you were actually slighted. Two, what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to, and I will bring in Hollywood, because I noticed that even the unambiguous dark-skinned Black women population can have trouble with this as well, is that people like the production company, they're not just trying to make whatever show or movie you want to see. They're trying to make the one that sells. They're trying to make the one that will bring in the brand deals, that will bring in the eyes, will bring in the viewerships. If it's a movie, they want to sell tickets. So if, for example, with a movie, let's say the historically accurate actress would be a dark-skinned actress, a monoracial dark-skinned actress. But from their research, it shows that the Black community will come see the movie, or they will be more likely to receive the movie positively, warmly, if they cast a biracial or a light-skinned actress. They're not going to miss out on the money just to be historically accurate. They want butts in the seats. They want to make some money. Some people actually care about money in this world. Same thing with the show. They don't care if you want to bust a split every 2 seconds on the screen. They're thinking about the viewers at home, and if they feel like you're not going to get the eyes, if they feel like you're not bringing the viewership, then they're going to highlight and hone in on who they feel like will get the viewership. And that was Melanie. One, she's an exotical. Two, she is, when it comes to her look and her ambiguity, there are so many different people watching the show that can see themselves in her. You can have monoracial Black women with admixture who feel like they see themselves in Melanie. You can have Hispanic women who look at her and feel like they see themselves in her. You can have women from Latin America see her and feel like, oh, she looks just like me. You can have, more darker skin exoticals see her and feel like that. You can have biracial people, multiracial people who look at her and say, oh, she looks just like me. You can have the native population that she's pulling in. She is it's very easy for so many people to look at her due to her ambiguity and see themselves in her. So just purely from a marketing standpoint, it makes sense to give her all of the camera time, especially because this is not their first rodeo, Kenzie. This is your first time being on Love is Blind. This is not their first time shooting the show, though. They look at, on all these shows, who do people keep talking about after? Who continues to have the the spotlight, who goes on to have an amazing career. They track their analytics. They track who's on the screen, who tuned in. Oh, well, in this episode, we kept following Anaya around and everybody stopped watching, so we put Melanie back on the screen. On this episode, we kept throwing your popping a split everywhere, ass all over the screen, and everybody tuned out. So we're going to do what we have to do to get the money, to get the eyes, to get the viewership. But this is the piece that she didn't bring up. And this is the quiet part that most people don't want you to understand as an exotical. Something that I almost said out loud when I heard the whole, oh, it was the Melanie show and they were showing her on the camera so much. Of course, those other points that I just gave, I was thinking of those things. But the first thing that I thought was, the entire season, wasn't she getting dragged through the mud by a manipulative man? And that's the quiet part they don't want you to hear. So with Melanie, not only her beauty and her ambiguity kept her on the screen, but also the storyline of people trying to document what was going on to her. What was going on in that dynamic with, what was it, her and Sincere, I believe, is the guy. So I'm confused. So you don't care about the fact that she was in tears almost every episode. You don't care about the fact that it seemed like she was mentally having a breakdown. You're just mad that it was on camera. And you have to be careful about disingenuous people like that, because what I've noticed is there are many people who benefit from pity privilege, but the pretty privileged don't fall under that category. See, when you're pretty privileged, you can be going through anything. And a woman who has an inferiority complex will be mad that you are getting shine or you are getting the spotlight, even if what's being spotlighted or what's being highlighted is your pain. She was not in there having a happy time. She was going through it. She was fighting for her life. From every clip that I seen was her crying. Even when I got images of her for one of the videos I made, her crying, her stressed out, her being manipulated, her being triangulated. And so it's like she got all of this screen time, and during that time she was going through emotional pain. She was going through psychological pain. I know I even seen people giving the commentary that the men on the island were very red pill, which, red pill men, one of their MOs is to inflict psychological pain on women. That's why they never date the women that they claim they want. They go after the women that they claim that they don't want, or they run podcasts where they spend all of their time talking to women that they claim they don't want, and they want to inflict psychological pain on those women. They don't just get their happy little wife and keep their ass at home, work some basic blue collar job, and have a nice little life with their family. No, they want to bring psychological pain. And for a lot of those men who are more red pill, it's not even as satisfying to just bring psychological pain to the woman that you already broken down, and that is your woman. You need to take down the woman who's all the way on the other side of the aisle. You need to really, it's not as satisfying to take the woman who already believes that she is supposed to be barefoot and pregnant and be in the house and wait on you hand and foot. You don't have to convince her of anything. There is no pain there. Even the pain that you are inflicting on her, it's like a pain that she kind of desires, or she feels that she deserves or something. These men, they get much more of a high out of taking the woman who is the boss babe, the woman who doesn't ever want to get married, the woman who doesn't ever want to have kids, the woman who, isn't even sure if she wants to be in a relationship, the woman who's like, get a dog, die alone. Maybe that's fine. These podcast bros, they specifically seek out women like that to try to inflict psychological pain on them and break them down and make them lose their convictions, make them lose touch with reality, make them lose touch with their beliefs, their value systems and everything. And so I just think it's very interesting, because it wasn't like Melanie was on screen just getting doted on the whole time, just receiving the most perfect princess treatment. She was being treated like shit. And even though she was being treated like shit, people didn't even empathize with that enough, because she was getting on the screen time and because she's pretty privileged. So that's the quiet part out loud that many people don't want you to know, is that if you are pretty privileged, They want you to be silenced. They don't want anybody to hear your story. They don't want you to have a voice or anything. Even if with your voice, with your spotlight, you're going to be shining a light on pain, they still don't want you to have that. They don't want you to feel as seen, as heard, as validated as maybe you do with the natural attention that you soak up or the hypervisibility that you're experiencing. They don't want you to feel any of these things. They would much rather you take your pain, take your psychological pain, your your emotional pain or whatever, and go into the corner because they just want to be on camera. And this happens in real life too, where I saw another creator, it may have been another exotical creator, who made a video about resilience privilege. And I still have to watch it because I'm sure that I'm going to agree with so much that they have to say. That is something that I didn't have words to describe, but I talk about this a lot on my channel actually, where you will have people who feel like you are a stronger person, or they feel like when you go through a struggle, people care to pay attention. Maybe Kenzie, she could have even dealt with her own sincere before going to Love Island, but maybe she didn't have the hypervisibility for all of America to tune in and watch and to care and to pay attention. And all of the support that Melanie has been afforded and everything, she's really, I saw the statement that she released where there were so many women that she felt like were wrapping her in love, like internet big sisters and everything. The next woman, she doesn't care about the fact that you're also going through some sort of pain. She just cares that the outpouring that you receive when you go through something, that she didn't have it. She just cares that you're on the camera in the first place. She just cares that you're able to, spread your voice in the first place. She doesn't care if the message that you're giving is something that doesn't even represent you in the best light. It's not even you at your most powerful. Even if it's something that, maybe doesn't make you look great, or it makes you look a certain type of way. Oftentimes we, will damage, it can damage a woman's credibility. Sometimes people will feel if she's, showing her emotions, if she's crying, if she's being very vulnerable, if she's giving people the benefit of the doubt, if she's, trying to stick it out with somebody, people will think of it as like, oh, you're just dumb or whatever. But with her, it wasn't just what people would do. It was like, oh, you're just dumb. You should have chosen better. She's about to be getting brand deals. She got to win the hearts of America. She has all of these new followers and everything, and she got more screen time. It's so interesting to see in real time how you will be maybe perceiving yourself as lower status, as not as impressive as somebody else. You may even feel ashamed of something from your past, something from your present, whatever that is. And you will still have somebody hating on you in the middle of you going through your struggle. It's insane. It's because of your hypervisibility. It's because when you're going through your struggle, you got to struggle on camera, which it's so interesting because to somebody else who can empathize with somebody like Melanie, I will say something like, I wouldn't be jealous of all of the screen time that she got. I might feel like, oh, well, was she exploited? Were they taking advantage of her, of her pain? Were they, in some of these shows, they can even encourage people who are on the shows to do certain things to stir up drama. So I would even be thinking like, was Sincere like encouraged by the producers to move in this way or that way because it would get more views or more ratings? I'd even be thinking about the men like, oh, well, were they only trying to do this because they felt like they would get more screen time because she's the beautiful exotical and they know she will be in screen, so let me try to string her along so I can get more screen time. That's what you may think when you are empathizing with the pretty woman in the situation. But somebody like Kenzie, which I'm not going to make any like character statements based on other stuff that I saw about her or saw her doing on the villa. Like I'm not going to be the person who's going to critique her for kissing people. I truly think people just have a double standard. Men stick their raw appendages. Would you call that an eggplant an appendage? Let me know in the comments down below. Is appendage only used for arms and legs, or could it be like an eggplant or a tail or something? I don't know. That's random, but Men stick their raw eggplants and multiple women in the same day, multiple women in the same week, and people are going to drag Kenzie for putting her lips on men is crazy. Those same men who were literally sleeping with some of the women, it's insane. People do, what were they saying? What do they call it? French fries? People doing French fries and stuff. And then you want to shade the girl who's kissing is crazy. But I will come for Kenzie off of that. Check yourself, check your inferiority complex, because all that screen time she got was just documenting her pain. As a matter of fact, somebody like Melanie, now that all of that has been documented on Love Island, she's going to have to be very careful going forward now with dating, because there are going to be, many men who say, oh, I'm a manipulator. She seems so patient, so caring. Maybe I'm going to come to her now. And then, come to her like you don't know her. You never heard of Love Island or anything. She's going to, I'm not going to speak anything negative on her, but I'm going to say things may be tricky for her. Because what is the backlash of her having shown that side, or the producers choosing to have given her that screen time? They really, I would say they exploited her. Because yes, that was genuinely what was happening. But yes, it added drama. And yes, it pushed a narrative. And it also showed maybe more of her than she would have shown if she was in her right state of mind. Like, I know a lot of these shows, they isolate people before they even begin filming. They have these people drinking and everything. And you can never undo whatever was done, whatever was said, whatever tears you cried on the show, whatever behavior you accepted. And, the show just had its finale. Melanie could go back into the dating world and say, oh, I'm never going to put up with something like that. She could recognize all of the red flags and all of that. But that's probably not going to stop a huge parade of manipulative men coming her way. Now that they've just seen her be patient in front of the whole world. They've just seen her be vulnerable in front of the whole world. She's going to also attract people with not so good intentions. And because I don't have an inferiority complex towards Melanie, I see myself in her and I want her to be doing well. I wouldn't be hating on the amount of screen time. I'd be hoping that she's surrounding herself with people who care about her, people who are not looking to exploit her. I would hope that she has the good, right people in her ear to help her manage the even higher level of attention and visibility she's going to be having to manage now that she's back home from filming the show and everything. But what did you guys think? Like, did you guys see that interview? What did you think about the whole complaint about Melanie getting on the screen? Do you agree with me that people probably just enjoyed looking at Melanie more than they enjoyed looking at other people? Do you, like me, also see some of the ways that Melanie, in my opinion, was exploited by this show? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, worldies, eyes on the prize.